like to introduce you to the next speaker for our event, that is Mr. Hanumantha Rao. He is working as a group lead for oncology in Bayer Pharmaceuticals. Mr. Hanumantha has over 60.
Let me share my screen. Hope you all can see the screen, the slides.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I think we heard very good speakers from the keynote speaker and then analytics part, and Dr. Jayanti Gupta has covered a lot of topics about the India landscape. So I will be more covering into the statistical programmer role. So the day-to-day responsibilities, how are we supporting as a statistical programmer to the cancer research. So I'll go through the overview of the clinical trial landscape in India and roles and responsibility of a statistical programmer. And what do we do specific to oncology from the programming point of view, and summary. Maybe if time permits, I'll be able to take the questions. Okay, small disclaimer. The views presented in this presentation are my experiences, nothing to do with my company or the sponsor, that is Bayer. Okay, I think we all know that the drug development always start with a goal in mind. The vision is in mind, is the right drug to the right patients. So we all work towards to get the drug into the market, not only getting the drug into the market, but the right drug to the right patient. Because when it comes to the market, we'll see a different type of patients taking that medication. So that we need to make sure that each patient is getting the right drug. In this process, I think the clinical development, Dr. Jayanti Gupta already explained, and even the keynote speaker explained how the drug research in India, it's a very highly regulated environment. We are all working on it, and it's a huge amount of money spent, and it's a low probability of success rate. If you see in this slide, maybe the five phases of it is, like, for example, from a drug research to preclinical test and clinical trials and approvals and after launch. So it takes approximately, I think some of the author already mentioned it's close to 18 years, but on average it's close to that. When we look at the compounds, like in the testing, in the tested area is close to 4 million compounds, and then this 0 a year, and then around less than 250 test compounds will be evaluated more, and less than five test compounds will be again tested in the drug research, but finally one drug get approved by the health authorities. So in this period of close to 15 years, a lot of time has been spent, and the chance of getting a drug is very less. Yeah, in this, I think when it comes to the where does the statistical programmer role comes into pictures, mainly will be sometimes we do in the preclinical, the analysis part as well, but when it comes to the main clinical research, I mean the human studies, like phase 1 to phase 4. I know most of you know about this, the 4 phases of clinical trials. The phase 1 is basically tested in the healthy volunteers with a small amount, very less sample size of the patients. At this stage, doctors test the safety and tolerability of the active ingredient as well as the way it affects the body. So, and comes to phase 2, it's more into the the physician will determine the right dose and for the new patients, and it's run around 100 to 500 patients. Um, so safety and frequent dose findings. Phase 3 is the bigger phase. I mean bigger extension of this to confirm the efficacy and safety and see how it will work for the bigger patients. And then once the phase 3 is a success and the drug is get approved into market, so we'll do the lot of post-marketing trial or regulatory confirmed follow-up trials to confirm the long-term safety. So in this phase, the larger patient will be tested. But the reason I'm explaining is this complete slide is oncology is a particularly exception when you see the phase 1. Basically, phase 1 we study the patients, but whereas other therapeutic areas mostly we look at the healthy volunteers. That's the one difference when it comes to the oncology. I think Dr. Jayanti Gupta already well covered about the India landscape. I think rightly said, the India government has very nowadays more favor to the sponsor companies to conduct clinical trials in India. I think earlier was the case, like if you have to get an approval in India, you have to have a clinical trial conducted in India. But now even the pharma companies, they can include one of the center as their global phase 3 trial, and then still can get it approved in India. So that has given a lot of benefits to the pharma companies to look into the India perspective. And if you see here from 2014 to 2017, you see very less clinical trials conducted in India. But if you see a big spike here from 2018 onwards, like 2014 to 18 is the kind of the trials are more increasing in India. It's almost a 70% now. It's a 2018 old data, but I think in these 2 years is more studies are coming. And in the right hand side, you see a lot of pharma companies, the big pharma companies who are already part of this phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 trials in India, ongoing trials, and some of them might have completed. This data is in May 2019, but some of the trials might have completed and new trials might have started. Okay, coming to the statistical program point of view, I think when you look at the 10 years back, we most focus on the analysis and reporting part, because the research part, the scientific background, we are particularly for oncology side, I think it's not that familiar. But now with the kind of research happening in India, and all the scientific journals publishing, and all these kind of webinars happening and the seminars happening, it's a lot of research background we are getting into. All the statisticians and statistical programmers are now much familiar than the disease area than earlier. So that is really helping us to understand the disease and do the analysis. So that's about the background of where we come into picture, but what we do as a statistical programmer. So who are we basically? So we are analytical people, more into the some of them have statistical skills, and more technology driven people. Like we use we use the data, and we drive the data into information. And let me explain a high level responsibilities, roles and responsibilities. It's nothing to any organization, but this is what I noticed over a period of time with my experience handling a lot of statisticians and statistical programmers. These are the high levels of all the role or responsibilities we do in the drug research. So the review of the documents, like any study documents, some of them are like protocol, even some of them CRFs reviews and statistical analysis plan and shells creation, all those we go through it before we even start any analysis. And the CRF annotation, sometimes we do it, and preparing the programming specifications, analysis specifications. Analyzing the data. I think with the CDs come into the picture, there are a lot of standardization happened in the industry. So a lot of guidelines are already there. So using that guidelines, we create a SDTM and ADAM data sets, and we use the validation checks like Pinnacle 21 to make sure that our data is submission ready. And we address all the errors and warnings, and we create a defined.xml and the submission documentation like clinical study data reviewers guide and analysis data reviewers guide. Creation of TLFs. I think this is where not only for the CSR, but we do the TLFs for all sort of requirements. If you are from a service provider, for sponsor requirement and sponsors for their all the internal CSR deliverables and other health authority request and other kind of internal stakeholders meeting, all sort of supports, the statistical programmers will generate the nice table listing and figures, will provide them to make some decisions. And then from the sponsor side, some of them are even play the role of oversight quality and oversight assignment of the work done by CROs. In this clinical trial reporting phase, we interact with a lot of stakeholders. The main stakeholders like data management people, biostatisticians, and medical writers and clinical trial team. So we will be part of all those discussions and scientific answering the questions of the scientific point of view, and we provide a lot of inputs, and we communicate all our any discrepancies are in the data or anything to the data managers. Submission or documentation, yes, we play the major role in terms of submitting the data into the regulatory agencies and creating a summary of clinical efficacy, summary of clinical safety, the poolings, and preparing the submission documentations and answering the health authority questions from the different agencies. And nowadays, if you see, the data analytics is more moving into the data scientist and all roles. But in pharma also, we do a bigger role, like all the new technologies coming in, R, Python, and Julia, and all those new technologies coming in. We do a lot of visualization of the data to explore the data and see what else we can get into the from the data. Because the more you get into the data, the more you will be able to understand, the more will you be able to come up with the results. So we do play a major role in creating some kind of automation tools and apps, or maybe power apps, or could be R programming apps, and all those things is a very much the digital transformation. We were part of it as a statistical programmers. And what are the different stages we come into in the clinical trial reporting? I think most of the audience knows that basically before database lock, after database lock, we play a major role, like creating all the programs, all the submission ready documentation, making sure that the validation has been done, all the procedures, all the documentation, signing part is taken care, the database lock. And after database lock, and even before database lock, getting all the inputs, any changes required from the clinical point of view, the clinical team will give the answer, some responding to some of the questions. All those will be addressed before database lock. Basically, post database lock, confirming whatever the agreed analysis, we will make sure that that is performed and submitted. And we do support for a lot of post hoc analysis, or sensitivity analysis, and for publications such as posters, scientific papers, conferences. So everywhere, I think statistical programmer is getting into the bigger roles now. And the submission activities, like I explained already on the last slide. So integrated analysis and SDTM ADAM, data pools for submission, and other interim analysis needs and documentation. So answering health authority questions, these are all comes under after database log submission activities. So how does oncology different from other therapeutic areas from a statistical analysis point of view? So I think analysis in the oncology research or the oncology data is little complicated when compared to the other therapeutic areas. I think most of us should understand the oncology standards. I think each indication, like Dr. Jayanti Gupta explained, different indications in the previous talk. So each indication will have different standards. So we all should know very well detailed about the oncology standards and for each indication, and understand more into the time to event analysis data. I think that's where the oncology play, at least most of the time we see the primary and secondary endpoints. I don't say every time, but most of the times is based on your time to event analysis data. As a programmer, I think if you really want to grow in the oncology research and part to be oncology research, one thing I would recommend all of you to understand the time to event analysis data. Okay.
So,
And
sorry, you have another 5 more minutes so that we can keep up with the agenda's time.
Sure. Yeah, I'll wrap up. So, and if you look at the what are the different things we should know in oncology? Like oncology, if you look at SDTM point of view, we have 3 different domains like TU, TR, and TS. We all should know about that. And the RECIST, that are a response evaluation criteria for solid tumors. I think this is the one of the widely used, and you all should know the RECIST guidelines, well detailed. And oncology study is conducted by cycles. This terminology we all should know. How does it is a visit are different from the cycles, and the some of the endpoint like PFS and OS, progression-free survival and overall survival. Those are endpoints mostly we use it. And analysis data set like ADAM analysis data set, AD and efficacy oncology, exposure oncology, and ADTT is a time to event analysis data set. Another key point you should know is oncology studies, the CTCA grade perform the major role. So we all should know what is the CTCA grading means. Okay, these are the different type of outputs and the different type of endpoint. You see the OS already explained, like symptom endpoints, patient report outcomes, disease-free survival or event-free survival, objective response rate, complete response rate, and progression-free survival. So on the right-hand side, if you see the kind of tables generally we generate, most of the time you see this graph in oncology, the Kaplan-Meier curve, and the Hart's ratios, maybe Cox model or log rank test, whatever it is. Then we provide the dispersion tables, and we display the different type of graphs for subgroups by using Hart's ratios And then we create these are the ADAM specifications, and you see the define.xml is created, and then we'll submit it to ADRG. So this is the kind of end-to-end roles and responsibilities, the kind of TLFs or data sets we generate. One area I think is we all should know more about is the recent thing from US FDA is the RTOR, the real-time oncology data review. I think this is all the companies are exploring. So I think if you're really interested, this is one of the key area going to be plays major role in oncology research. So as a statistical programmer, you should know about what is RTOR. Some references are given here. I think you can find it in the FDA site as well. And the different organizations in India and biostatistics statistical programming conducting. I think if you see left-hand side, a lot of these are the different technologies. The right-hand side, if you see the lot of companies, the pharma companies, CROs, and others BPO services providing the services or maybe handling the statistical programming and biostatistics department. And Algorithms is one of them in the listed in this. Just this is the maybe last one slide. So the summary. I think all the statistical programmers, we are customer focused. We do support all type of requirements for the customers. And one thing I would recommend everyone is that while you develop the outputs, spend a little more time on that. How does it make sense to the research? Just generating numbers and making sure that's correct is good, but sometime if you spend another 5 minutes of time understanding the output, you will get a lot of deep knowledge about how does it make a difference. And our domain is growing in India. I think you see a lot of companies in the previous slide. The statistical program is rapidly growing in India. And because of different reasons, one could be cost-effective models and different kind of technology and the talent pool we exist in India. And advanced analytics like artificial intelligence, machine learning, SAS, R, Spotfire, Python. These are all the advanced analytical tools. I know most of them we use SAS, but I think you all should now shift into the new technology, start learning this and implement, and not only learning it, how to use it day-to-day work. We already gone through three presenters. The scientific background is very important for statistical programmers to understand the scientific background, because a lot of time we spend developing programs, coding, and all those things. But little more into that, we should understand the scientific part. And we all should feel proud to be part of this cancer research. Because we are really helping the patients. This is one of the life-threatening disease, and we are helping getting the patient the right drug on the right time. We all should feel proud on working on this cancer research. So with that, I would like to thank Algorithms for organizing this event. Today is a special day. It's a National Cancer Awareness Day, which we are doing it in India, and so it's Swachh Bharat thing, and these things are happening, and Algorithms has really taken a good initiative to conduct this on the special day. And thanks to all the audience for listening and taking some time and attending this on this weekend. So with that, this is my last slide. Maybe, I don't know, I think time permits, but I'm happy to answer questions in the chat window. I can take it on the questions and try to type my answers. Maybe I'll hand over to you, Parul.
Thank you, Mr. Hanumantha. That was a very insightful information. I actually have received one question for you, which it states that which are the most frequently used statistical tests in oncology datasets programming?
Okay. I think if you see my slide, I mentioned that all the analysis data set should be one proc away, one proc statement away. Most of the derivations we do it in the analysis data set. One could be a time to event, like censoring event, and then calculating the time to that event. That's a major part. Like and the resist is one of the major part, and progression-free survival. Generally we don't use much into the statistical methods that comes into the analysis part, I mean the outputs part, but data set level we derive a lot of endpoints. But if you ask me, maybe the question is more in TLF, we use the more time to event Cox models and log rank test, all the hazard ratios, and then sometimes we use the mixed models also for a continuous variables.
Okay. We have another question. It says how SCE and SCS are performed.
Okay. Maybe if time, maybe I can answer that question also in the chat box. But simply, when you have a one molecule is running for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, you will not be submitting each study individually. So you'll be submitting it as a compound. What are the research happened from last 10 to 15 years as a one report. So you need to combine all your individual studies into a pool, and you need to draw some conclusions based on your summary of clinical efficacy, summary of clinical safety. That's where we pool all the studies and put together and create some of the outputs based on the pool data from all the studies in that molecule for submission point of view. That's where the SCS and SCA comes into the picture.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hanumantha. We'll move on to our next speaker. Thank you again.
Thank you.